Hey, what's up, Brew Crew? Welcome back to my Brew City Garden. Yeah, I thought I'd bring you to the indoor garden today just to kind of take a look around and see how the seedlings are coming along. I sowed most of my seedlings about 10 days ago or so, some sooner than others. Now I did sow a bunch of peppers like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and only one of them sprouted. And I'm not sure, some of the seeds are fresh and some are old. I don't know why I had such an issue with them sprouting. Maybe I just wasn't patient enough. But I had kept them under my T5 lights here, and I figured that the warmth provided by the lights would be enough to make those seeds sprout. And they just never did. And so there might be a couple factors there. Normally I put my seed trays on top of the refrigerator, actually towards the rear of the refrigerator, and it actually stays warm back there. The only caveat is I have to catch them quickly, because as soon as they germinate I need to get them under lights. If I don't, the seeds will get, obviously they'll get leggy, which I have some legginess here, nothing terrible. They'll be just fine, especially the tomatoes, because you can pot the tomatoes deep and they'll be just fine. You know, a couple more reasons why I think maybe the peppers didn't do well, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I used the peat pellets, the expandable peat, and you really have to watch those things. You know, I was talking to Ebates Family Garden just yesterday about this, that the peat pellets, they work well, but you really have to keep an eye on them, because if they dry out, you could lose your entire seeded tray or seed tray or whatever. So, you know, I like the peat pellets, but man, you really gotta keep an eye on them. But anyway, these 2 trays here I just brought down from off the top of the refrigerator, and just kind of wanted to see what they were looking like. I think we'll start over here with the tomato tray. The germination on this tomato tray is actually really good, and you can see that I planted 2 seeds per cell. So it looks like the German Johnson, Gold Nuggets, Italian Heirlooms are doing really well. The Tiffin Mennonites, Cherokee Purples, Wisconsin 55s, Japanese Black Trifles, Yellow Pears, Sun Golds, and Wild Sweeties have all come up. And they're actually, the germination rate on these are excellent. The ground cherries have not come up yet, which ground cherries are fairly notorious for being either A, hard to germinate, or B, they take a long time to germinate. The Sun Gold hybrids still have not germinated. That concerns me a little bit. I think those should have germinated by now. I'll let them go a little bit longer. We'll see what happens with that. I can't imagine going this summer without my Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. They are top notch. They are the best cherry tomatoes ever, or at least that I've found thus far. So we'll keep an eye on those Sun Golds. Hopefully they'll come up. If not, I might have to make an emergency order from a different company. I actually got these from a gentleman on eBay, and you got to be very careful ordering seeds from eBay, because A, you're never quite sure what you're going to get, and B, you don't know if they're going to be any good. So this particular seller might get some negative feedback from me, but we'll see. I'll give it some time. But otherwise, these actually look really nice. Getting a little bit leggy, but I'll get them up under the lights. And as soon as the roots develop inside these tray cells, I can transplant these into deeper pots. So the legginess will not make any difference at all. I'll bury them deep, and they'll just root from the stems as tomatoes do. So as far as these go, they actually look really good. They're still very, very small, very fragile, frail right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cover back on these tomato seedlings very carefully. And I'm going to throw these underneath the T5 lights so that they get plenty of light, and they should do well. So over here in the next tray, if we take the lid off, I have to admit I probably forgot what all I have in here as of right now, but let's take a look. Okay, so these are I re-sowed all my peppers. I got my Daytil peppers, Jimmy and Ardellos, Tabascos, Jalapenos, Cayennes, and the carnival mix bell peppers. None of those have come up yet, so again, they're just slow to germinate. Even being on top of the refrigerator, which is usually a winner for me, that almost always works. Let's see what else we have. Genovese basil. It looks like I have a little bit of this basil just beginning to sprout. The sweet basil is definitely coming up and actually looks really good. Excellent germination on that. I'm still waiting on the cumin. The lemon balm has come up quite thick, so the lemon balm's looking good. This what is this? Oh, the okra. That's what these big leggy looking things are. And you know, I probably planted these like way too early, the okra. Let's see, I'll turn this so you can see it a little bit better. So this is the okra, and as you can see, they are very leggy. So I may or may not keep these, I don't know. Okra, these grow so quickly, I can probably literally sow these like 2 weeks before I put them outside. And here in Wisconsin, I won't put these outside until the danger of frost is completely gone, and then I'll probably wait another 1 or 2 weeks to place these outside, just because they are so frost intolerant, and they just like the heat. And sometimes, even though we get past the frost date here in Wisconsin, the nights can still get pretty cool. So I may just end up resowing these, but wow, the germination on them is fantastic. These seeds are 2 years old, and it looks really good. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this. And what I'll go ahead and do, even though these peppers haven't come up, I'm going to go ahead and get these under lights because of these other plants that are, or seedlings that are coming up. They need the light. And what I'll do is I'll just keep the light tilted a little bit so it's a little bit lower on this side, and will help keep this side warmer. And hopefully we can get our peppers up. I hate to think that I will have to go buy peppers this year at the nursery, but hey, if all else fails, that's what we'll do. So I'll put these under the lights as well. All right, so overall, the seedling trays that I had on top of the refrigerator are doing pretty good. Like I said, I'm still waiting on the peppers. We'll see how that comes along. I'm not terribly worried about it, but let's go check out and see what's underneath the lights over here. All right, let's go. All right, so let's take a look at what we got under lights here. As you can see, I've got two full-size shelves with, each shelf has 2 T5 lighting fixtures with 3 bulbs each. It's a pretty good output. As you can see, it's nice and bright. Everything looks pretty good. Definitely is a nice setup for starting my seedlings. And let's take a look at what we've got here. Seem to be having some slower germination with the cole crops. It looks like I've got some broccoli coming up. This is getting pretty leggy, so I'm going to have to pot it up. What have we got here? Looks like I've only got 2 of these Brussels sprouts that have come up. The brew kale, which was a gift from a friend, has still yet to come up. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm really looking forward to this brew kale to see how well it does this year. And if I got to run out and grab another pack of seeds, I definitely want to try these this year. They just look super cool, and want to see what they have to offer. And over here we've got the Romanesco, which is actually doing really well. That one's getting a little bit leggy, so I need to bring the lights down a little bit closer. But overall, those look pretty good. If we move over here, oh nice. So here we've got the Popolo, which I'm sowing much earlier this year, and hopefully we can get this to go to seed. I'd rather not have to buy Popolo seeds again. If you're not sure what Popolo is, check the right up here in the corner, and I will link a video that explains the Popolo and my first experience with growing it last year. Also in this planter, I've got some toothache plant, which I grew a few years ago. This is a really novel plant, and a medicinal as well, and I've actually used this on my toothaches, and it works amazingly well. It's just the coolest plant ever. And then I've also planted some marigolds that have yet to germinate. Those are about a week old, so actually the Popolo is doing much better than the other plants in here. The toothache seeds are very old, so we may not get any germination on the toothache plant. Here we can see that my Yacon has come up and is doing very well, and behind is my onions that are doing really well. I had 3 varieties. 2 of them are doing very well. 1 variety I had a very poor germination rate, but the seeds were older. If you know anything about onion seeds, they only last about a year or 2. You can't store onion seeds for long, and these were the ones with the poor germination, so it looks like I've got literally 4 that came up out of 2 full packs of seeds. And over here we've got more of the Yacon, which are doing very well, and these are Yacon as well. I ordered some Yacon from Thailand over here, and it arrived actually fairly quickly, like within 10 days, which was surprising. I don't know, we'll see how it comes up. And then next to it I've got the turmeric, which have yet to come up, but they were very healthy rhizomes, so it's just a matter of time before those turmeric peek their head out of the soil, so definitely not worried about that. And underneath you can see where I put the 2 seeding trays that we just looked at, and I will have to bring the lights down a little bit to get them closer to these trays. And then last but not least, here is my sweet potato, and it is doing very well. I will be able to pinch these vines off soon and stick them in some water and let these other smaller vines start to come up and take their place. Really looking forward to growing sweet potatoes this year. I actually got this sweet potato from, we subscribe to, it's called Imperfect Produce, basically, which just takes, it is what it says, it takes imperfect produce that most grocery stores, grocery chains would reject, and they'll just ship it directly to our house for a discount. And it's really high quality. A lot of times it's organic, and you know, it's a fraction of the price, so we just love it. It's nice, and it's always a different variety, so that's a cool website. Check it out, Imperfect Produce. All right, and then I've got 2 more T5 light fixtures, one here and one over here, and basically these are underneath my, I guess you would call this my seeding area, my, I don't know what you would call it, but once my tomatoes start getting really big, I'll keep them under here because I've got a lot more height, a lot more clearance that I could keep them. Over here is a brand new pot, a pot of ginger that I just potted up over the last weekend. These haven't come up yet either, but again, these rhizomes were in very nice condition too, so it's just a matter of time before these peak out. This here is this is the mystery rhizome that I spoke about in my Yacon success or failure video, and this one didn't come up, but this one did come up, and I think I figured out what this particular plant is, but you know what, the name escapes me right now. If I think of it, I'll just put it I'll put it on the screen, like right here. But it's a beautiful plant, very tropical looking plant, and according to the person that gave it to me, it's an edible, though I doubt if I'll be eating it. But you know, everything looks pretty good right now, so I like it. All right, guys, hey, thanks again for joining me here today at the Brew City Garden, or better yet, the Brew City Indoor Garden. As you can see, everything looks pretty good. I mean, for what it is, I've had some setbacks this year, but I've had some great successes as well, which is fairly typical. Hey, let me know how your indoor setup is going this year. Are you having any problems? How's your peppers coming along? And maybe you got some tips for me, and you know what, if you're having any issues, maybe I got some tips that'll help you out. All right, guys, hey, make sure you stick around because this season is gonna be awesome. I just know it. It's gonna be fantastic, and I don't want you guys to miss it. All right, guys, until next time, we'll see you.